What's going on, everyone? This is Ketchup here, and it is the day one release of the Khameleon cameo in Mortal Kombat 1. I am pleasantly surprised, honestly, with this cameo, and this title, it ain't clickbait. I genuinely believe that this cameo has all of the makings of a top-tier pairing. Something that might even be one of the best things in the game right now. Time will tell for that, but there are so many solid foundations, entirely built around the fact that the player is in more control over the morphs than I expected, and most of these moves, if not all of them, have very impressive cooldowns, which means that while every single one of these moves is viable and extremely effective, you're going to have access to them all the time, something I'll cover in a little bit. Now, let's talk about the basics first, but I gotta say, as far as day one goes, people are having a lot of fun with this cameo, and there's a lot of dangerous pairings, a lot of characters are working well with Khameleon, and it's looking kind of ridiculous. However, let's talk about the simple stuff first. Okay, so you might know some of this, maybe some of it you will not. Let's talk about the cycle first, how you change between forms. Khameleon, they are called disguises in this game. If you go into the move list, that's just generally what it says, change, disguise. And you have three, Kitana, Mileena, Jade. You know that already, you've probably seen the Kombat cast. However, something that is different from the Kombat cast is that the order of which Khameleon will then go into the next version, unlike the Kombat cast, where it was somewhat random, it isn't random anymore. The cycle is set in stone. Kitana, Mileena, Jade. Kitana, Mileena, Jade. That order is guaranteed, which means a player has a lot more control than I expected. And control with this kind of character is always going to be important, because if you don't have control over what you become, it's unreliable. If it's unreliable, it's probably not going to be that viable. However, now you can control exactly what you become when it happens. It's a really big deal for this cameo. So again, Jade, Kitana, Mileena. That is the order, and get ready for it every time. The one thing to keep in mind, and the one random element to this cameo, is that when a round starts, you will be one of the three. The cycle is the same, but the one you are at the very beginning isn't always going to be the same. But it's something easily manageable because of how many options you have to change between stances. And on that note, let's talk about the moves. First of all, I just so happen to be in the Jade version, as we are in training mode. There is a summon per form, and there is a ambush per form. There's two moves, right? And both of them are good per version. The Jade one is a glaive toss, first of all. This is your summon, and it works almost identical to the Serena double knives. You throw a projectile, it comes back, you can combo from it. The one thing about this is, if you do this move on block, the opponent can hit Khameleon. It's not punishable, but you can hit Khameleon, and if you hit Khameleon early enough, the glaive doesn't come back. So it's not completely guaranteed. It's not unsafe, but it is something the opponent can deal with. If they block this glaive, they can stop it from coming back simply by hitting Khameleon fast enough, and it's as simple as that. There are other versions. You can hold down and do a different version that comes back, and there are other versions too. The down one's pretty useful for stopping someone mashing if they're late, but that's a self-explanatory summon. The ambush is another self-explanatory one. It is the projectile immune glow. It functions exactly as it sounds. You are immune to projectiles. It's very, very simple, but one thing to point out, look at that cooldown on the top left. It comes back so fast, you have it ready, full, and good to go before the move's even finished. If I want to just give myself another one before she changes to the different version, I can just do it. And it still comes back really fast. And this is one thing that's consistent with Khameleon. Very, very fast recharges, which is one of the reasons this cameo is so devastating. Let's talk about Kitana next. I will talk about this move in a little bit, don't you worry. It's just a good way of cycling between them at the moment. Looking at the Kitana version, the summon is the fan toss. Now, this is a projectile. However, if it strikes up close, it launches the opponent. And depending on your character, you can get a combo from this, which for someone like Sub-Zero is really good. Because it's a launcher, and it's not just a launcher, it is safe. That is one of the crazy elements of this. If they block the fan, it's a mid, it's safe on block at -6, and it's a full launcher that gives you even more damage in the corner. This is great for someone like Sub-Zero, who can just do something like a normally unsafe overhead, turn it into a full combo, but be safe the entire time. That, with the fan toss, is one of its greatest strengths, but at the moment, one of the main things people are looking at with the katana version is the ambush. You've probably seen it. It's the super jump. This is a insanely good move, because you have a close and a regular version. I can't quite remember if you can go far with it. No, you can. The far fan lift. So there are 3 different directions. And this basically means that you can do anything, and because it's an ambush, you can follow up with it. The applications of this lift is absolutely out of this world, because you can do so many things and turn it into a combo in instances a combo normally just wouldn't exist. This changes the game for most characters. Even things like that, you know, I turned his forward 1-2 into a meterless dive kick, right? No other Kameo was going to give you that kind of situation. And again, one thing to point out, look at the cooldown for the fan lift. I'm going to do it. It's an ambush, but it has really, really fast recharge, which is consistent with all ambushes in the game. We're going to talk about Mileena now. Her ambush is a variation of the square wave, which is a ambush move that Sonya has. Sonya has the ability to do the same thing. However, when it comes to Mileena, she's doing the same idea, and just like Sonya's square wave, Mileena's giving you a full combo in almost identical situations, which I think is really dangerous, and again, has the fast cooldown. Every ambush that Khameleon has this cooldown speed, and it's unbelievably strong. The other move that Mileena has, and this is her summon, is a very fast overhead that's a full combo. Again, it's self-explanatory. All of these moves are very, very simple in their function, but they're great at what they provide. That's an instant overhead that can provide some actual real reaction, even though you're using a Kameo for it. It gives a full combo. Although it is unsafe, it's an overhead, it's really fast, and it launches. So ultimately, all of these moves are really strong. But one thing that makes them even better is that they all have really good cooldown speed. If I use the Jade Glaive, for example, I'm going to use 2 of these. I'm going to do a full combo here. Let's just do a basic Sub-Zero combo. I've already used 2 Kameos, keep in mind. By the time my combo is over, I have not only 1 full Kameo gauge ready, so I could use another attack, I had half of one good to go before the combo was even finished. And that's with the quote-unquote slower cooldowns. So all of these moves, they're going to be back efficiently. They're going to be back when you need them. And I think this fits her design incredibly well, because if she's constantly cycling between different forms and you don't have the cooldown available, you're going to miss entire cycles without using a single move, and you're stuck with one that you might not want to use, right? So the fast cooldowns really fit that, but they also help every single character that could possibly want to use all of these attacks. And the fact that they're all good is even better. Now, there is one move I haven't mentioned, and you're probably wondering what it was. Back in Kameo is another ambush where you can move. It gives you a glass effect, and this makes you take half damage on a single hit while you're in this state. Now, this is a decent tool for closing out a round or something. You know, if you need to survive one more hit, it's good for existing. But I think one of the main reasons is to just guarantee changing into a different version. It has the fast cooldown like the others. So if I want to go from Katana to Mileena, I can just pop this and, you know, now I've got this cycle for about 6 seconds. I can do the same thing going back into Jade. I can just guarantee that it's going to happen. Let's say I'm Jade and I want to be Katana, right? I can now just activate this. Even if I don't get the effect from the glass, I can ensure that I'm guaranteed to be in my next form for when I want it. So I think that's ultimately going to be one of the main reasons you would use this move. But we've talked about the attacks, we've talked about some of their effects, the basic stuff here, and how they can apply the cooldowns, the cycle. Let's talk about how you can ensure you're going to cycle to the next version, because this is a huge part of playing this Kameo, and something you have to learn. So starting off, the simple one is when you perform an attack, if you hold the Kameo input, by the time the move is done, Khameleon will manually change to the next form. So if I'm Jade and I want to be Katana, I can just do the summon, hold my Kameo button, and it will ensure that instantly you become Katana. You know, this might not be a super viable combo or something, but let's say I'm going to do the glaive toss, go into Katana, throw this, you know, this combo exists because I know what the order is, and I can hold the Kameo button to ensure that I'm going to be Katana next. So this is an element of the Kameo you have to know, because if you're holding the buttons, you know you're going to change, and you can use that in your strategy. I've already seen some absolutely ridiculous clips using this, and it's just part of giving the player control. Control was important, and I'm so glad to see that you have more control than I thought you would, to be honest with you. But that's not the only way. Like I said, another way to cycle guaranteed into the next version is to just do your back Kameo. So ultimately, the combination of the 6-second timer in between forms, combined with holding the button down to change on command, or simply if you're full screen or something, just doing the ambush to become this because it has the fast cooldown. Or if you want to, you know, you can just pop the glow. If you want to cycle into the next version, just do the glow, hold it, become Katana, super jump, cool, become Melina. If you want to use one of these attacks because it has fast cooldown, but you want to become a different form as well, there's nothing stopping you. Get the glow, become Katana. Do some crazy stuff, get yourself a combo. I'm going to become Melina now, right? I know that it's coming. I'm going to pop it. You know, there's all sorts of combos you can perform with all the characters because you know what the order is and you have the ability to manually become the next form on command. The combination of all these gives you much more options because you know what's going to happen. Like, if you didn't have that control, it would be so much harder, but you do. And I have to say, I'm really happy to see that because it would make or break this Kameo. But as far as the basics go, this is a lot of it. I want to talk about some more in-depth applications now, though, because really, there's a lot going on, even for day one, and this isn't even scratching the surface. Right, I mean, look, we're going to talk about some tech now, and God, where even do we start? There is so much here. Let's start off by talking about the utility of the fan lift. So, something that everyone can do is projectile into fan lift. This is a anti-neutral tool, absolutely taken to the next level, and it results in a full combo should your projectile hit. Being able to follow up your projectile with this lift is incredibly dangerous. In any instance you would want to use a projectile, you can just fly in, and before you know it, you've got yourself a full combo. Various characters can get all sorts of reward from this, and it really is just one element of what makes the fan so good. The lift can work in other areas. I mean, if we're going to go for some kind of combo, it lets you essentially just activate this jump from all sorts of instances. If I want to go for the tentacle grab, for example, we've just got ourselves a meterless launcher. And this is something that, again, this worked with so many characters. It just goes into going for a move and just getting some sort of situation from it. You're cancelling out these instances where you can now get yourself a full combo that just didn't exist before. And as you might expect, this is a really good tool for a lot of characters. This is going to help someone like Quan, you know, a great deal because it gives you a confirm anywhere in that instance, no matter what button you've landed. And that's just one character of many. Some characters can use the fan to get throw combos. Some characters can use it to turn their armor into a full combo. Quan isn't one of those characters, sadly. You can't exactly fan lift off Skydrop, although that would be lovely if you could. It's the point of just being able to use this fan lift to get things that you otherwise wouldn't have. And it changes the game. It really, really changes the game. And when you couple in the really fast cooldown on top of that, it's a devastatingly good tool. Speaking of throw combos, I mean, let's talk about someone like Liu Kang, right? Liu Kang's grab into a teleport is something that is well known at this point. Khameleon gives you the same kind of thing. And, you know, if Liu Kang has Katana available, you can just go for a fan lift, and there you go, full combo. It will be a back 2-3, it will be whatever you want, really. But this is where cycling the forms can help you. If I land a throw and I'm in the Jade mode, I can purposefully glow, cycle into Katana, and get a full combo. It's a little bit tricky. It can take a little bit of execution here to get the timing down. But again, it's this idea of being in control of the morphs putting myself to Katana on purpose and then getting a combo from that. So it's just one of many examples that just makes this fan lift such a game changer for so many characters. And like I said, this is just one of many different things that you can do. How sick was that combo, let's be honest. Now, one thing to talk about is the Melina Bull Roll being a lightning fast overhead actually functions as a wake-up attack. It's not going to be the most viable thing in the world because wake-up cameos are historically not that great. However, in a lot of instances, you can go for a fast wake-up, and if the opponent's not great on their meaty timing, you at least have the ability to bypass something. Provided the timing is right. I think this is a difficult one with the wake-ups because, as you can see, it's not going to work 100% of the time. It does entirely depend on timing and what the opponent's using. But if this move actually works, it's a pretty big deal because it launches. It's actually one of the few Kameo wake-ups that will launch the opponent on hit. It's just unfortunate that, like many Kameo wake-ups, it's not very good at actually bypassing damage. This might be something you can throw out, like, you know, if things are a bit desperate perhaps, or maybe you want to catch someone off guard with an instant overhead. However, it doesn't have the invulnerability you would expect, so it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all right there. I think the secret to really understanding Khameleon at this level is going to be just knowing when to cycle in between, you know, what version of Khameleon you want to play. Because there are so many different options you could, in theory, go for here. You just need to understand what you're going to cycle into and how to get from one stance to another. And that's where things get a little bit different. And I think where the difficulty of this Kameo is actually going to thrive at a higher level. Juggling this is not easy. However, the rewards are rather ridiculous. But this was just a really early look into Khameleon. She's doing a lot of stuff for a lot of characters, and I think in mere days you can watch high-level footage from various players. You're probably going to see what I'm talking about. But thank you for watching. Stick around for more MK content to come, and I gotta say, I'm liking what I see with this Kameo so far. Let's just see how good it can really become. I think an early top-tier contender for sure. Take care, and I'll see you next time.